Dow, you're building this massive base, okay? Like late night dirty German, deep psychoacoustic reverberating through your soul bass, boom, 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 that type of bass, okay? What up, traders? I hope everybody's doing well. We did have another bullish day in the markets, crypto and stocks, and we will be taking a look at the charts, the indexes. I also want to show you how we're breaking out of the descendings on not just the Dow, but other indexes as well. Inflation now has come down 3 months in a row, so that is good. It was not a surprise beyond Wall Street estimates, but it did meet it. And there was a digestive period in the morning where the market really didn't know how to react, but in the end, it reacted well. And I think that the market is kind of thinking what I had said last month, that, you know, once you start getting a trend and seeing that the monetary policy tightening, the higher interest rates are working on inflation, you know, smart money will start to accumulate and, you know, dip their toes in, and you'll feel that. And so you want to be positioned correctly to get in and let them push you up with the volume. And so we'll take a look at all that stuff. We're going to look at some DeFi information and just some general news. So let's get started. And saying all that, welcome to the wheelhouse. All right, okay, let's take a peek. This is the Dow, okay? Now, we've been walking through it the whole way. You guys should know, if you're on this channel, we got you out before the crash, okay? We ran it. We made money off all the pivots. I trained all you how to do that. We crushed it. If you followed me, a lot of you were learning, but I think a lot of you now know and are seeing that that is the way to do it. And that's how I made so much money in the bear. Okay, when everybody was freaking out, not knowing what to do, I was walking you through it and we were crushing the game. Now, when it made this pivot high, and then later I called it right here, and this happened and it rejected, although we ran it and we ran it down as well. This pivot high and this one are really important. Notice how it came right down on the fib as well. Okay, it came down. That was a 4-day rally. This was all like CPI fear and FUD. Okay, there are a lot of stuff going on in the news. That was the June bottom low. They brought it down, okay, further. Okay, the blue one is the peak of COVID. So instead of making a double bottom on the June, what they did was they brought it down because a lot of people's stops were here, the market makers. So when they did that, I was over here saying it's going to be a double bottom, and boom, lo and behold, it was exactly that. And I indicated in videos on YouTube, as well as lots of alerts in the Discord, not only what would happen, but exactly to buy on that exact candle, that exact wick. It went up. Then when it came down, I said, hold the line. We bought more and we rallied, okay? We went way up. Now, it has been kind of a distribution pattern. We went over this in a couple of the last videos. And it's different than just a double top, because this is kind of that porcupine distribution look that you see. Like, for instance, real quick, I'll show you. So on the daily on Bitcoin, if you notice, there's that porcupine distribution look, okay, from back in the day. That's distribution. So back to the Dow, you know, you have this peak and then you have this distribution. But what I was saying the whole time in all these videos is the primary downtrend is the number one thing. And when we broke out of it, that was huge. And we tried to break out and we retested. I even said it would probably retest, and it did. Then it tried to break out. It got a rally right before the inflation report came out. Inflation did come down, but then Jerome Powell and Lagarde came out and did a media blitz and scared the market, and they brought us back into the descending, a bounce off of the 200, a rejection off of the primary back inside of it, and then boom, no way, we're not having it, breaks out of the descending, comes to the point, and if you notice, the wick right there is above, but in technical analysis, the body has to be above. So we are right at the precipice of, this was the double bottom. This is what's called a minor, 2 minors, 3 minors, 4 minors, a break of the descending, and this is a major, this yellow one. It is considered a confirmed uptrend, a major trend reversal, and signifies we are moving towards bull run, okay? Now, the Dow is a leading indicator. It is critical that you guys pay attention to that. It will lead of what's about to happen in the future with the economy. It's a barometer for the economy. So typically, the SPY will follow it, and then the Nasdaq, and then the Russell. So let's take a look, because none of the other ones have been outside of the descending, until now. So check this out. The Russell is outside of the descending. It is right at the 200. It is a make or break moment for the Russell. The Russell started the bear run. A lot of people think that the bear run started in November. Okay, it actually started in February, because one of the 13 things that have to happen before every bear run, it's like a checklist, is that the small caps go first. And you can see this range bound. A lot of people just didn't pick up on that. I didn't even pick up on it until everything else broke out and kept going, and this one didn't. And then it put me on notice. That's kind of how I knew things were getting, and there's other things too that happened that kind of led me to believe it. It started in February, it came all the way down, and small caps are kind of weird. You know, people don't want to be in small caps in a bear market, but they do want to buy it off the bottom because they've been beat to hell and they make a lot of money like growth stocks when you do bottom. This is crazy, this kind of distribution pattern, but it is a technical pattern. And it did finally break out. And remember what I just said, the Russell is the last to follow the Dow. So let's go look at the SPY. Now, the reason the SPY had this reverse head and shoulders, it made lower lows to higher lows. It was really crazy. Everything was technical. See how it hit here? It came technical. Went there, up to this one, went back down to this one. Up to this one, down to this one. Everything was technical. It made a channel. This was the exciting day I showed you on the Dow when the inflation came down 1 month ago. And this was when Lagarde and J Powell did the media blitz. And it fell not only out of its channel, but back into the descending and broke through multiple supports. Now, it fought its way up and it went sideways. The reason it went sideways was because it was confused. All the indexes and all the markets were confused because the purest way to get your news is not from television. It's actually from the price action and the charts. They will tell you the news. And the charts were telling me that it was confused. It was scratching its head because the data was showing that things were getting better, that the hawkish monetary tightening policy was working. It was lowering rates. And we did at that point have 2 months of decelerating inflation, okay, on headline and core. But the narrative from the Fed was so hawkish that it jolted it down, but then it came to its senses and it went sideways. So it was like, okay, I want to go up because the data's good, but the Fed is telling me it's bad and it's going to be bad for a long time. So it just went sideways. The Dow doesn't play games, okay? It's a leader and the other ones will follow. And like I had said a month ago, smart money will put their money in when inflation comes down. And lo and behold, last month, they did exactly that. If you remember, it rallied extremely violently to the upside. They got on TV immediately in 3 different countries and did a media blitz and tore it down, okay? They did that on purpose. It's all engineered, okay? But the market will call bullshit. It can only be faked out for so long before it's like, come on, dude. Like, the data is the data, right? So it's now back at its descending on the SPY, despite Jerome Powell saying we would have 6 quarters of slowing growth, which is really important for you to know and understand that that could affect the SPY, because the SPY is what? 500 of the top U.S. companies, and Jerome Powell is what? The chairman of the U.S. Fed. So if the chairman of the U.S. Fed is saying there's going to be slower GDP for 6 quarters, well, then it would affect the SPY, and that's why it dropped so hard. The fact is that the market has a consensus, and the consensus is right 99.9% of the time. The Fed is not right 99.9% of the time, but the consensus is right 99.9% of the time. It's very strange, but it's true. So the consensus is saying it wants to rally, and it's not going to be buying all the BS anymore. So this is good, okay? We just need the SPY to break out of the descending trend like the Dow did, okay? Like the Dow did right here, and like the Russell did. Now, what you got to know about the Nasdaq is a couple things. Number one, it's super good to trade and make money. It's growth, right? It's tech, it's fun, it's very cool to invest in. But when inflation goes down, the Nasdaq goes up. And when the Nasdaq is in a bull run and it achieves all of its things, its checklist to move back to phase 1 and go to a bull run, then you officially can start really making money. Now, the Nasdaq is not there yet, okay? This is a chaos. This is a crazy chaotic pattern. This is not even like standard. This is like 3 different patterns upside down and twisted together. It's really strange. The Nasdaq is struggling, but the Nasdaq is now showing strength. See that blue line, and it's curving? Look at the momentum. Outside day, follow day. You're about to get the Jedi green lights. You're technically, boom, breaking out, testing. You're making a move. Okay, this is good. Essentially what's going on, guys, is you're building, back to the Dow, you're building this massive base, okay? Like late night dirty German, deep psychoacoustic reverberating through your soul bass, boom, 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 that type of bass, okay? All right, so this thing is like doing its thing. It's going to come through, and then eventually it's going to break out, and that's going to be the official bull run. Well, if you go back, this is a base of COVID. But if you go back even further, and you go over here to 2007 through, that's 2007, that's 2013, this is 2009 where it bottomed. This length of time from here to here, guys, is the same length of time from here to here. And I started telling you that that was going to happen over here before it even happened. Haha. Everybody is like, we're lower, we're going, all these things. And you notice how I'm always saying the opposite. Everybody says 10 grand Bitcoin, and I'm putting in my title 20K Bitcoin, and here we are rallying. I've been doing that forever. I'm always going against the grain. And a lot of these guys, they're constantly wrong, and I'm constantly calling it right. And I'm telling you right now, because I have a lot of training in this particular topic, is the Dow is leading us. And if it breaks this major trend reversal, we're calling green lights to the beach, baby. Okay, so now let's look at some stocks. Okay, so let's just kind of take a peek. If you look at Mara went up almost 31% on the day. So let's look at the hourly. This thing is screaming. It has been on a straight run since 309, and it's over doubled that. It's almost at $7. Now look at the daily. This is come down super far. It had a high of $83. Basically, if you bought 1,000 shares for $7 grand and you waited for it to get to all-time high, for it would be worth $83,000. It's a big gain. That is incredible. This is like an established bottom from before. It kind of went down. This has turned blue. Indicators show it's going to keep going up. It looks good. Hut Mining, Riot, they're all in the same category. They did really, really well. That's on the daily for Hut, which is only $1.43, and it went up 22%. So can you imagine how many percent it would be if it went back to 16,055 cents? So you pay $1,400 for 1,000 shares. You wait for it to go back to all-time high, and your $1,400 turns into $16,550. Not bad. Same thing with Riot. You can get it right now for $6, and its all-time high was over here at $80. So your $6 grand could turn into 80,000. Now you always want to get above the 200, okay? And you're never really safe until you do that, but you just need to back it up. You need to know what's going on the daily, but you need to focus more on the smaller time frames and see these pivot lows. That would be a stop point. Then you put a stop here, and then a stop here, and then it almost broke it and stopped there. And you just walk it up, and you will lose a little bit of your money when you get stopped out, but you will be in the profit if you take the trade right. And last night in Wheelhouse Wednesday, I spent a lot of time going through how you wait for this to go green, and then you let it drop on a support, and when this goes blue, you buy it the bottom, and then you ride it until this goes pink and this is pink at the same time, which will get you right at the top. So you can always buy at the bottom and always sell at the top. Not the very, very top, but within $1, within 25 cents, within $5, depending on the asset and how big it's moving. The shorter the time frame, the more active you'll be, but the more accurate your entries and exits will be as well. We do have this available. You can come in the Discord. I'll put the link in the description. Come on in. It's free to join. If you do want to subscribe, you have the courses, the one-on-one, and of course you'll have the indicator, and that'll have updates as we go. I just requested 9 things to be fixed or altered, and then once we finish those 9, we're going to start on a whole bunch of new updates for it as well. So people are using it. The feedback is really good. and I can see their gains in the simulator, which I'm giving away $5,000 at the end of the year. Whoever gets first in the simulator, start with $1 million. Come on in, you're all set up, it's free to join. You don't even have to subscribe to anything to play. And I can, I can view your trades, and I can see how you're doing, your entries, your exits, your stops, like, your stock selection, all that kind of stuff. So come on in, that's fun. A lot of good stuff out there. Upstart, that's moving up. It's above its 200 on the daily, it's above its 200 on the hourly, and it needs to break out of this previous support, which is now resistance of 2139. So a lot of good movement, a lot of bullish movement. Coinbase, same thing. Beautiful structure. There's your stop, there's your stop, there's your stop, and you just let it run, okay? Affirm had a good day. Let's look at Bitcoin. I see people in the group talking about Bitcoin. So if you look at the daily, this is what I want you to know. Okay, you had that drop of the 17.5, 17.6. You came up to the 19. FTX happened. It dropped lower to 15.5, 15.8, whatever it was, and it's kind of crept above. It's walked its way up these levels, okay? It kind of hovered on here. It did get the Jedi green lights. This is blue. The momentum is really good. The indicators are positive. This is a pivot high right where it's at currently, literally where it's at currently. It has to get through there, which is basically $18,403. And then the next one would be a psychological level at 20,000. And then after that, your breakout point or resistance would be 21,486. But if you look at this thing, we are now coming into 12 days, okay, since the first that this thing has been a go. So we grabbed it right here. It went green. I'll enlarge it for you, okay? I went over in the last two videos too. It went green. You waited for it to go blue. There's the green triangle. Boom. You got it at 16,530. That's about right. I think it was 16,550. And you're just still in here. And you're basically almost at 19,000 right now. So again, you got to walk your stops up, and you got to be careful if you're trading it. If you're holding it, then, it's still really low. This momentum looks great. And because it has the strength on the daily, it's very, very positive. Now, this is getting up here towards the top, so it might have a little retrace, but that doesn't mean it will stop its uptrend. So basically all crypto is looking really good. It's looking really strong in the charts. You can just see this is Chili's. I mean, that one got beaten down bad, but these are oscillations, okay? And they're making higher lows and higher highs. Essentially, just about every single chart is kind of doing this number right here. And I'm not going to get too crazy with the lines and all perfect, but they're oscillating in an upward range, okay? That's positive. And there's a lot of other patterns and stuff too, but essentially they're all rolling up in a channel, and then they're moving through the time frames to get bullish behavior, which is really good. You got to keep an eye on that 200 though, okay? I want you to keep an eye on that. Matic back at 91 cents, guys. This thing is a beast. I own a lot of Matic. I love Matic. There's that pivot. Boom. Look at it just rolling up. There's the channel. I'm not going to draw it in, but you know what I mean. Again, with the stops, roll it up. Take no prisoners, baby. You know what I'm saying? AMD and Nvidia in the semiconductor space, they have been getting some moves. They've been making money. Ethereum above 1,400. What up? Who loves you, baby? That's what I'm talking about. Above 1,400. So when we bought it down by 1,000, now we're paid. I've been in the green on Ethereum for a long time, but I think a lot more people are green now. So yeah. This is looking amazing. I mean, whew, that just looks perfect. I mean, you can just see the momentum. Now check this out on the daily. You're out of the 11-month descending pattern, okay? And you have this like VCP, volume contraction pattern, low volatility. Remember, this is not the highly leveraged clown crowd, okay? This is the sophisticated buyer, accumulator, or whale cohort, based off what on-chain put in their report and what I'm just seeing through experience. So this sideways bottoming process is good. And when Bitcoin on the weekly in the last 2 bear markets has broken out of its descending on the weekly. It has fired up both times in a massive rally, and we just came out of the Bitcoin descending on the weekly. Okay, we just came out of it. So just to show you, it's something like that, and we just came out of it. And the last 2 times that it did it over here, it rallied up big. Okay, so we might be getting a really big rally, and even on the weekly you can see it's bouncing off of support. So this is all positive news. Okay, what's not positive is that we are about to find out really soon in the next couple days some information on regulation, what they're planning with the CFTC as well as the SEC. So we'll keep an eye on that. All your big tech. So big tech likes it when inflation comes down. So that's why your Microsoft, that's why your Netflix, that's why even Tesla is finally, if you notice, Tesla, I mean, obviously you noticed, unless you're living under a rock, but Tesla got beat to hell, right? And there's the pivot where it went pink to green, and if you notice, it's been climbing up slowly, and it's, you know, I've been trading it a lot and it's been good. And on the daily, you can see it hasn't really gotten crazy strength, but if you notice that blue diamond and that blue diamond, that's institutional whale buyers purchasing large amounts of money, and this went blue, which is really good when it happens on the daily. So yeah, Tesla looking good. Amazon, I mean, look, people love convenience, and this thing is low right now. Even at 95 bucks, it's super cheap if it went back to all-time high at 188, 189. So, and it looks to me like it has that bottoming floor and that rounding, and you can see the HMA is curving. There's your green dot. All this stuff synced the day that these guys bought and the day this turned blue. So yeah, look at that. My sync system, it shows exactly when the institutional whale buyers bought, and that's where I bought too. And my Amazon is looking really good. I had it and I bought it again. I don't have a ton of it. I probably should get some more because I have like a lot of Tesla and a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of Ethereum, and then I have like smaller amounts of other things like PayPal and CrowdStrike, Meta, Nvidia, Google, DocuSign. So yeah, Apple. Now Apple is turning the corner on the daily, but it had its pivot. And like I teach you guys, you get the green light, but you don't trade it, okay? You get put on notice, okay? So once it goes from pink to green, you wait, okay? And then there's always a drop. It's because it's a trick we discovered. It has to do with market makers wanting to shake out weak hands. And so this catches it because it's always doing calculations in the background. So it goes green and notifies you. The market maker drops, shakes people out, and then they buy it all up to resell it later in the trend and create the pivot. So once it goes green, you wait for it to go blue right on the support, and then boom, you buy right there, pretty close to the bottom, right? Look how close it is. You buy right there and you're still in. You don't sell when this goes pink. You only sell when this goes pink and this one goes pink. And so it's gonna do its oscillations just like the crypto channels I showed you, and you just stay in. And just like you bought very close to the bottom, it'll be that same way at the top every single time. And that's why I'm always getting like 90+% win rates. It's sick, guys. Come in the Discord. Google is running. Google's personality isn't really like a trader personality during the market open. What it does is it usually pops like in the pre-market, and then it gets its rally in the morning, and then it gets like a boost every morning, and then it just kind of does what it does all day, and then the next morning it gets a boost. It's kind of got a weird behavior on that one. So yeah, looks good. Crypto looks good. Stocks look good. Guys, I film in 6K. I scale to 4K for your visual pleasure. Click the screen, top right corner, there's a cogwheel. Go to advanced settings and click 4K for your audio pleasure. If you have speakers, surround sound, earbuds, whatever you call them, headphones, that is dynamic surround sound, okay? I hook you up. I do cool graphics, cool edits, and cool music, and I give you good quality. Why? Because who loves you, baby? We're here to trade. We're here to make money. We're here to learn and grow together. So, look, saying all that, Let's get into some of the news.
The former engineering chief of FTX is the latest member of Sam Bankman-Fried's inner circle to seek a cooperation deal with prosecutors. Bloomberg has learned that Nishad Singh met with federal attorneys last week. A Singh cooperation deal would leave Bankman-Fried increasingly isolated because two former FTX executives are already working with prosecutors.
And I just kind of wonder, where do you just find $5 billion lying around?
This was a normal, routine day in bankruptcy court in Delaware to address various issues for FTX, the crypto exchange, and related entities that suddenly and dramatically collapsed in early November. And we know, as Sherry references, that the new FTX CEO has said it was highly unlikely anyone would recover losses. So it was a surprise that FTX Group advisors found more than $5 billion in cash or crypto assets that it says may be able to help pay creditors back. This came from lawyers at the hearing who said they're working to monetize assets with a book value of $4.6 billion. The advisors say they also have found a large amount of other crypto assets that are illiquid and therefore hard to sell.
Now remember, Coinbase is just the latest company to announce another round of job cuts this month. Genesis, the troubled crypto brokerage under Barry Silbert's digital currency group, cut about 30% of its workforce. Huobi is cutting 20% of jobs, while Silvergate laid off 40% of its staff. Let's get more on the latest layoffs at Coinbase and others with Katie Greifeld. Katie, you know, when you look at what's happening at Coinbase, is the bleeding over?
Is the bleeding over? I mean, it gets back to what Matt was saying, that, okay, investors are cheering this news about the job cuts, that the fact that they're cutting costs. This is TradFi stuff. You'd normally see a stock rally when investors welcome that sort of news, but this root issue remains. The fundamental problem still remains, is that people aren't trading crypto. The trading volumes are way down. You have Bitcoin absolutely flatlining. That's still a problem that's going to continue to haunt Coinbase's stock. But again, it's being welcomed that this is a sign that they're getting really serious about costs.
Meanwhile, Barry Silbert's crypto empire looks like it's in trouble here. I mean, getting an open letter from Cameron Winklevoss and demanding details on whether or not they're commingling funds.
It's really fascinating to watch this play out in public, this very public fight over what happened. You have Cameron Winklevoss basically accusing them of fraud of some sort. So the latest is that, again, the big news was that Cameron Winklevoss today, in another letter, calling on the board of Digital Currency Group, which owns Genesis, which owns Grayscale, calling them to remove him as CEO. We have heard from Genesis, a spokesperson, saying that they're disappointed that Gemini has chosen to make misleading public statements despite productive private dialogue. So again, this is playing out in public, and it's fanned a lot of concerns over what's going to happen to DCG if you do see Genesis actually have to file for bankruptcy. It's been, 2 months since they halted redemptions? This has been dragging on for quite a long time.
Now, that is one giant in the room, but what about Binance? This report from Forbes about Binance bleeding assets, $12 billion gone. Put that into perspective, and what does that signal?
12 billion
$12
gone.
billion. It is the biggest exchange. So what kind of trouble does that spell, whether it's for Binance or the industry at large?
This is the existential question hanging over the industry. What happens to Binance? This is the biggest exchange left standing, and this great Forbes investigation, again, found that you actually have seen $12 billion come away from Binance in the past 60 days. Of course, we've heard from Changpeng Zhao on Twitter, CZ, downplaying those outflows. But again, Forbes is saying that basically they've been much greater magnitude than Binance, than CZ is letting on. So whether this, spells the end of Binance or trouble for Binance, what this means in terms of industry trends of people perhaps moving away from centralized exchanges, this is going to be one of the big questions of 2023.
At the same time, new court documents reveal more of the big name backers investing in the troubled exchange. Shareholders who lost money in FTX's collapse include New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft and billionaire hedge fund manager Paul Tudor Jones. Their investments were listed among those from SoftBank, Sequoia Capital, and more. Rival exchanges like Kraken, Huobi, and Coinbase have all announced huge layoffs after nearly $1.5 trillion was wiped off the crypto market. Just today, CoinDesk reported that crypto software developer Consensus plans to cut 100 jobs from its 900-person workforce. In fourth quarter financial metrics, Silvergate disclosed $4.3 billion in loans from the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco as it tried to fend off a run on customer deposits. Those deposits dropped from $11.9 billion at the end of Q3 to $3.8 billion at the end of Q4. Now, the FHLB is meant to support home lending, not the crypto industry. And as American Banker points out, the bank is first in line for repayment if Silvergate were to file for bankruptcy, ahead of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC. The FDIC, which usually gets priority in order to ensure stability of the banking system, would then get what's left of Silvergate's assets. It could be a sign of just how entangled the crypto industry has become with traditional finance and the growing risk of contagion as companies struggle to stay afloat.
Sam Bankman-Fried is back to posting. In a Substack post this morning, the former FTX CEO denied stealing funds or stashing away billions of dollars. SBF also once again made claims that FTX has a path to solvency. He argues that FTX and Alameda were legitimately run, but hit hard by the market downturn and collapse of Three Arrows Capital. The disgraced ex-crypto exec says the exchange had $8 billion in assets of varying liquidity before he stepped down, and that the company had $4 billion in potential funding around the time it filed for bankruptcy. Bankman-Fried also claims that if FTX had been given a few more weeks, it could have secured the funding and made customers substantially whole. What's more, he still thinks, even now, if FTX were to reboot, it could find enough funding to make customers whole. Bankruptcy lawyers, regulators, and prosecutors have all contradicted many of the claims that SBF made in the post. They allege that neither Alameda nor FTX were wholly legitimate businesses. Those in charge of FTX's restructuring also say the company faces significant and unexplainable cash shortfalls. The claims Bankman-Fried makes in the Substack are ones he's made before, and no doubt will be heard again when he goes to trial in October. Next, another crypto company is cutting jobs. Crypto brokerage Blockchain.com is slashing 110 positions, or about 28% of its workforce. That's part of an effort to reduce operating costs to match dwindling demand in the wake of the wider crypto downturn, according to a report by CoinDesk. Blockchain.com follows a long list of crypto businesses downsizing during the bear market. Coinbase, Crypto.com, Huobi, Silvergate, Kraken. These are just some of the companies who have announced job cuts in recent weeks. We reached out to Blockchain, but have not yet heard back. Finally, crypto lender Nexo faces a wide-ranging investigation in Bulgaria. Prosecutors there raided Nexo offices in Bulgaria's capital city over suspected money laundering and tax crimes on its platform. Nexo responded to the raid on Twitter, saying, quote, "Since day one, we have gone the extra mile to implement cutting-edge solutions to ensure adherence to the regulatory standards." Nexo is phasing out U.S. operations after several U.S. states issued a cease and desist back in December, claiming the company was offering interest-earning accounts without registering the products as securities.